Have you ever found yourself randomly thinking about an old friend, and then literally seconds later your phone rings and boom, it's them? Or maybe you've crossed paths with a total stranger who intensely, almost eerily, reminded you of a lost loved one. When those kinds of moments happen, they completely stop us in our tracks, right? They kind of force us to ask the big question. Is this simply chance, or is there something much deeper going on here?
Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are decoding the unexpected. We're going to thoroughly demystify how we as humans interpret those random, surprising events that seem to totally defy ordinary logic. We'll be looking at the frameworks that actually help us make sense of the wonderfully weird moments in our everyday lives.
Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start by decoding the unexpected. Untangle chance versus coincidence, dive into synchronicity, look at serendipity and the law of series, and then finally, balance all that mystery with some discernment.
Section 1. Decoding the unexpected, and why using precise words actually matters if we want to truly understand the nature of our experiences.
Moving right along to Section 2, chance versus coincidence, which really forms the baseline of our reality. Let's start with chance. Scientifically speaking, chance is just a natural phenomenon that's characterized entirely by unpredictability. It has absolutely no intrinsic intention or deeper meaning. Think about, rolling a die and getting a 6, casually running into an acquaintance while you're in a foreign city, or finding your lost keys exactly the moment you stop looking for them. These are simply elements of uncertainty. There is zero pre-established purpose behind them.
Now contrast that with a coincidence. This happens when two or more events occur simultaneously or in really close succession, but absolutely without any physical or logical cause connecting them. It's exactly like thinking of a friend right before they phone you. The events meet in time, sure, but one definitely didn't cause the other. And honestly, these are incredibly frequent just because our brains are naturally wired to constantly hunt for patterns.
So the absolutely crucial distinction to keep in mind is this. Chance is pure unpredictability, a single isolated event with zero intention. Coincidence, on the other hand, requires the meeting of multiple events in time, but again, without any real causal link. Neither of them inherently carries a deeper message. They are simply the statistical realities of the complex world we live in.
Which brings us to Section 3, synchronicity. This is when a meeting becomes a message.
But what happens when these unexpected events actually take on a profound personal meaning? Well, enter Carl Gustav Jung and his famous concept of synchronicity. This is the meeting of an internal event, like a really deep thought, a dream, a raw emotion, with an external event that directly echoes it out in the real world. The essential difference from a simple coincidence is that profound sense of meaning. It literally feels like an answer from the universe to a burning internal question.
Let me share an incredibly moving anecdote from a therapist to really ground this concept. This therapist had a patient who was revisiting the heavy grief of losing our father several years prior. The emotions were still very raw. Well, one day, while she was just normally shopping in a store, this grieving woman noticed an elderly man, and he didn't just look a little bit like her father, he had the exact same facial features, the same silhouette, the same expressions, and even that exact familiar way of reacting to things around him.
And this perfectly captures the core of synchronicity. She felt accompanied, comforted. It was as if life itself were reminding her that emotional bonds absolutely do not disappear just because of physical absence. To her, this wasn't some random statistical anomaly. It directly answered her grief, providing profound comfort exactly when she needed it the most.
Interestingly enough, as the therapist listened to this story, she was struck by a powerful memory of her own. 20 years prior, she had been sitting on a city bus, feeling deeply saddened because she was unable to attend the scattering of her deceased friend's ashes. And suddenly, she turned her head and just froze. The woman sitting directly next to her was a perfect portrait of her departed friend. The exact same posture, the exact same kindness in her eyes. It was uncanny.
In absolute shock, she glanced down at her watch. And get this, it was exactly the hour at which the scattering of the ashes was scheduled to take place. This sudden, overwhelming realization brought immediate tears. But they weren't tears of sorrow, actually. They were tears of total relief and liberation. She found this intimate certainty that she wasn't alone, feeling surrounded by these invisible but very real links. It changed her entire perspective, completely replacing her lingering sadness with immense gratitude and peace.
Now, as you can imagine, humans interpret these intense moments in very different ways. Some subjectively view a powerful synchronicity as a literal sign of destiny, perceiving direct guidance at a crucial life juncture.
But we have to contrast this highly personal, subjective interpretation with a much more objective phenomenon known as the law of series, where we simply get the overriding impression that events are repeating themselves. Let's look at the science behind that next.
Section 4. Serendipity and the Law. This is all about the brain and human progress.
Now, serendipity is really where chance meets progress. Unlike synchronicity, which is highly emotional, serendipity is cognitive. It's a fortunate discovery made while you are actually looking for something else entirely. I mean, the history of science is practically built on these happy accidents. Take Alexander Fleming famously discovering penicillin because he accidentally left a petri dish open to some airborne mold, or the completely unexpected discovery of X-rays. These massive breakthroughs happen when blind chance meets a mind that's attentive enough to recognize the opportunity.
And then, of course, there is the law of series. Have you ever learned a rare new word and then suddenly you hear it like 3 times in the same week? Cognitive science tells us this is actually driven by our brain's natural programming. Our minds are incredibly sensitive to repetitions and regularities. Honestly, it's how we learn. But this natural pattern recognition can sometimes trick us into attributing deep meaning to phenomena that are purely statistical chance.
Section 5. Balancing mystery and discernment and our deeply human need for meaning.
Look, even with all our scientific labels and definitions, we have to acknowledge that life is still full of experiences that remain wonderfully unexplained. Many people report premonitory dreams, strikingly accurate intuitions, highly unusual perceptions during bereavement, or even weird things like objects mysteriously breaking at the exact moment a loved one passes away. Whether these are just remarkable coincidences, true synchronicities, or phenomena we simply do not yet have the tools to understand, they prove for sure that our grasp of the world remains incredibly incomplete.
So, let's pull this all together. When we map all these concepts out, the roadmap becomes super clear. Chance and coincidence are unpredictable and simultaneous events with zero inherent meaning. Synchronicity and signs of destiny bring in high personal meaning when your internal world meets the external world. Serendipity is what drives real progress, and the law of series is simply your brain doing its job recognizing patterns. Giving these phenomena their proper names helps us avoid confusion and truly appreciate the amazing realities we experience every day.
At the end of the day, all of these phenomena reveal our profound, deeply human need to find hope and meaning in the unexpected. So I want to leave you with this thought. The next time the universe throws a wild, unbelievable coincidence your way, will you just brush it off as mere statistics? Or will you stop, listen, and actually ask yourself what it might be trying to tell you? How will you balance mystery and discernment in your own life?